Today we have yet another JRPG review or retrospective, and today I wanted to jump into one that was a beloved JRPG from my childhood, Blue Dragon. This game was created by Hironobu Sakaguchi and his newly formed company at the time, Mistwalker. If you've watched my channel before, or just even taken a glance at some of my other videos, then it's probably clear that Sakaguchi's work is some of my favorite and has definitely had an impact on me. I'm sure all of you watching this are aware, but if you aren't, Sakaguchi was the creator of the Final Fantasy franchise and is easily one of the greatest creators in video game history. Sakaguchi's career in gaming has spanned over 40 years and numerous different roles, including game designer, producer, director, supervisor, and his impact on gaming and many people, including myself, can't be downplayed. After leaving Square Enix due to the financial failure of his film Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, as well as his desire for more creative control and less of an administrative role, Sakaguchi founded the studio Mistwalker. The studio was established in 2004 and received funding from Microsoft. This would later result in Mistwalker and Microsoft announcing 4 Xbox 360 exclusive titles, the first of those to release being Blue Dragon. As a child, this game seemed somewhat unreal to me as I grew up playing the Final Fantasy games on a Super Nintendo that was handed down to me by my uncle, as well as a Game Boy Advance that I had, and Dragon Ball Z was my favorite anime. So to have Hironobu Sakaguchi working with Nobu Iematsu, who also helped him with the Final Fantasy music back in the day as he was a composer, working together with Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama to work on this game just seemed like, honestly, watching some of my favorite NBA players team up in the NBA All-Star game. One of my favorite things about this game is how fast you get thrown into the action. We see one of our main protagonists, Shu, sleeping on a rock, and within a minute of starting up the game, you get to control Shu and explore the Talta village. We learn that every year a land shark attacks the Talta village, and this year Shu, along with friends Jiro and Kluk, want to take this land shark down. We find out the land shark is actually an airship called a Mechit that's controlled by the main antagonist of the game, Nene. Nene is seeking world domination as well as a cure for his illness that we later learn is a result of Nene's overuse of magic. I think the antics and personalities of those 3 children named are definitely very tongue-in-cheek, and when you mix in the other characters, including most notably Maru Maro, as well as Lady Zola, who later join your party as the game progresses, I think the main ensemble of characters work great together. The job system in this game is also great in my opinion. After Shu, Jiro, and Kluk's first encounter with Nene, the 3 swallow light orbs that provide them with different shadows. These shadows are actually what's used for them to fight, and it's the shadows that are fighting, not actually the children, but all of these shadows are based on different creatures, with Shu's being a blue dragon, of course hence the title, Jiro's being a minotaur, and Kluk's being a phoenix. These shadows can gain different abilities or skills by leveling up each job or class, and all of the abilities earned can be used with any class you equip to your shadow after earning them. This makes it extremely important to grind out as many jobs or classes as possible. And I'm going to get into the grinding from my latest playthrough that I had, but I will say that I went through to the final battle probably a little bit under-leveled, as I had my characters at either 60 or 61, and I got through it, but you definitely want to make sure you have all of white magic, black magic, support magic, and barrier magic equipped on one or multiple characters if you're heading in there in that low 60 level range. I also loved having 5 characters in your party once Maru Maro and Zola joined, because Final Fantasy IV is one of my favorite video games of all time, and Final Fantasy IV and its sequel are the only mainline games in the Final Fantasy franchise with 5 party members. So for Sakaguchi to explore giving you 5 party members once again was great in my eyes. And much like FF4, which I think is one of the most difficult Final Fantasy games, even in spite of having 5 party members, Blue Dragon is certainly pretty difficult as well in my opinion. The Red Dragon and Destroy fights definitely gave me some trouble on my most recent playthrough, to the point that I had to fight Destroy about 2 or 3 times to finally get it right. And I had to make sure I went back and did the necessary grinding in terms of the Red Dragon fight. Now I will say I spent hours grinding by fighting the golden poo snakes that you find on the southeastern deserted island, and these snakes give you 1010 experience, and you can one-tap them, so it's easy. But the only issue that I had was, at least in my last time playing, and I don't know if this was recently patched or anything, was that you have to warp somewhere else and come back to the island for another poo snake to appear. So that's just one thing you do have to remember. It could get a bit tedious. And the other thing is that you want to make sure you have the Pooh bracelet unlocked and equipped, as well as the Shoe of Hermes unlocked and equipped. And you can get these Shoes of Hermes one of many different ways, a couple of different ways that is, but I unlocked them by collecting 1,000 nothings and showing them to the Nothing Man. Now, nothings are collected when you're searching for items, and it will say that you received nothing, and I'm sure there's many people that genuinely believe they didn't receive a single thing, but these nothings give you helpful items, and you can even purchase the Nothing glasses on the Xbox store still to this day to help aid aid you by showing you a little green star every time a nothing is available to grab. I will say I did also love the tension build up to unleash a corporeal attack after a certain something is lost and regained by the main characters. I'm not going to get into that for spoiler reasons. And it's also funny, after going through and making a retrospective on one of Sakaguchi's other games, Lost Odyssey, I was laughing while playing Blue Dragon as I totally forgot the Kellolans that appeared in Lost Odyssey actually originated in Blue Dragon and play a prominent role in this game as well. And with all that said, this is still a game that I believe gets overlooked. This game was part of Microsoft's push to try and gain a larger presence in Japan. This game sold over 80,000 units in its first week in Japan, and Microsoft set a sales target of 200,000 copies sold in Japan, which they did hit by the end of 2007, and it's a shame it never sold more than that, in Japan at least, because I think this was a valiant effort by everybody involved in making this game. This game isn't groundbreaking or boundary pushing, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be. While I guess I can understand why the Metacritic score is 79, I still do believe that's a bit low, and I think anywhere from an 83 to an 86 would be more fitting. I may have enjoyed it more as a child than I did during this most recent playthrough, but I still did love my time with it over the previous few weeks, and I sunk over 60 hours into it during this most recent playthrough, saying, and clearly if I wasn't enjoying the game and I didn't believe it was enjoyable to me, I wouldn't have done that. And like I said, I did a retrospective on another Mistwalker game a few months ago, which was Lost Odyssey, and while that game is certainly better than Blue Dragon, I think the charm of Blue Dragon still holds up to this day and makes it a title I recommend to all JRPG fans. The writing, gameplay, art style, and music all still hold up nearly 20 years later, and while I don't think it's the best work of either Sakaguchi, Toriyama, or Uematsu, I still do think all three came together for a very enjoyable JRPG that, while not a classic in my eyes, is far from mediocre and has charm to it that brings everything full circle for a memorable experience. Now, I don't think the story has the depth that, say, some of Toriyama or Sakaguchi's other work does, but there's a lot of little messages and little things in the story that are very cute, tongue-in-cheek, and well done. One of those things being after temporarily losing their shadows and power when Nene takes their light spheres back from them, all of the children realize that the magic exists within their hearts and their will to help others, and take down Nene helps them get their shadows back. Shu continually saying he won't give up definitely reminds me a lot of the determinate attitude that Toriyama gave Goku in the different Dragon Ball series, and that's why maybe I'll say I guess I do have just a biased view of this game due to the fact that Sakaguchi, Toriyama, and Uematsu's other work have had a profound impact on me, as well as a profound impact on my childhood. But if you're a fan of one of the three guys, or just all three of these guys that I just mentioned, then I would say you'll certainly enjoy your time with this game, even still today. Now, this isn't as good as some of their other work, like I said, but it's definitely an experience that's still enjoyable, and it's a fun 60 to 100 plus hours, especially if you're a fan of one or all three of those men. Blue Dragon is an often forgotten JRPG that still remains exclusive to the Xbox brand to this day, but it is one that I recommend picking up digitally on the Xbox Store or just physically, as you can play it on the Xbox 360 or any of the newer Xbox consoles that have released ever since the 360 through backwards compatibility. While maybe a cleaned up, as in like 4K version of this game would look great, I think Toriyama's art style still holds up to this day, and I'm not sure if any up-resing has been done through Series X backwards compatibility. I'm sure there has been, since like all of the back-compat games do look better on the Series X through emulation, but I will say that the art style still holds up very well and looks good almost 20 years later in 2025. This game interested me so much as a child when I saw the box art for it in GameStop as a child, just because it looked so much like Dragon Ball Z for, of course, very understandable reasons since Toriyama worked on this game. And even still to this day, the impact that this game had on me as a child interested me enough to hop back into this game and play it once again. I'm very happy I decided to hop back into this game and give it another playthrough, and honestly, I loved my playthrough with it, even despite the minor flaws that this game has. And now we wait for Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, and Lost Soul Aside to drop very soon. This game's not a classic, but I will say it's silly to not give it a shot and fire it up if you're a JRPG fan. With this game selling digitally for just 20 bucks on the Xbox Store and constantly being on sale for less than $10, and you also being able to find it physically for less than 30 bucks, I definitely say to pick it up if you can find it for cheap and see if the game's enjoyable to you. I want to know in the comments though if you played Blue Dragon and what you think of it if you have. If you liked the video, then I'd really appreciate you giving it a like, as it helps me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel or returning to the channel and not subscribed, then definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button for retrospective and news related videos for JRPGs, as well as just gaming in general. Thank you so much for watching though, and I am out. Peace.